I'm here at Asus's booth at CES 2023, and we have so many fast gaming laptops to look at, but all of it starts with this guy right here. This is the Flow X13, and they released it earlier this year, but in order to fit all of the power into a chassis that's this small, they had the heatsink go all the way along the back. After they did that, they were like, huh, that's a pretty fantastic idea. We should just do that for all of our laptops. And then they did. Look at this, David.
Are you kidding me?
I know, it's just only heatsink. The whole back of the laptop on all of them. It's all heatsink, I love it. First up is the SCAR 16, and this thing is an absolute beast. Somehow in this, well, it's not exactly small or thin or light, but for the amount of performance, it certainly is. This thing has an RTX 4090 in it with a TGP of 175 watts, as well as the Intel Core i9-13980HX, which is just, it's such a stupid processor. It's absolutely beautiful. 8 performance cores, 16 efficiency cores, 5.6 gigahertz all core. This thing friggin' rips, I imagine. They have done that by just heatsink, even more heatsink. Now, Asus brought over a whole bunch of motherboards and a whole bunch of things like this. The problem though, there's no fans. I kept on talking about, we have a big fan, we have another fan. There's a whole other third fan down here that's new, and we can't see them. But I have a solution for that. There's a few things I like more than taking apart laptops on the show floor. It's too bad this isn't earlier at CES so that everyone would be way more stressed. They still look very stressed. One thing that I really appreciate, in the past on their SCAR models, Asus had this RGB light, but it was attached to the bottom panel. So when you take it off, there are these really fiddly RGB cables, huge pain in the butt. Now it's attached to the front of the laptop, so that might not be a problem. Aha! Oh, look at that. It's so small. I like this one. As you can see here, the cooling in this is obscene. Just so much heatsink all the way around. Now what you might be wondering, Asus has vapor chambers on a whole bunch of their laptops, but this guy does not. Apparently, NVIDIA's new chips are so power dense that if you try and put the whole 175 watts through a vapor chamber, she just dries up, doesn't even work. That's why you need all of these heat pipes in order to wick all of that heat away and take it to, well, all of that right there. Also, they added this additional third fan, just sort of blow air across the CPU and GPU so you don't get stagnant air there. And also apparently it helps with your keyboard temp so that your fingers don't get all toasty after a long gaming session. Underneath this heatsink, they're using liquid metal. So it's Thermal Grizzly's Conductonaut Extreme, and that has 2 main benefits. First of all, stuff just runs cooler. Fantastic. The thing that's even better though, is that apparently it just lasts for, I don't know, they don't actually know how long. They've had it running in laptops for 3 years so far with no performance degradation, but either way, that's way better than the typical stuff where like your silicon thermal pastes, they sort of dry out after a while, and then performance tanks, you need to take this all apart, replace it. Pain in the arse, don't have to do it here. While we're in here, you have 2 upgradable SSDs, as well as 2 upgradable RAM slots. This right here is 4800 mega transfer per second DDR5. And it looks like they have 64 gigabytes of the stuff in here. This cannot be a cheap laptop. Also, they have a 90 watt hour battery, which I don't know how long that's gonna last, but given the fact that it's 175 watt GPU and CPU, they can only do so much. Choosing a laptop gaming display can be a little bit difficult, especially for gamers, because sometimes you might have one that's very fast, but it just kind of looks like poo. Or maybe you have one that on paper sounds pretty good, but the response times are very bad. Asus wants to try and simplify that using their Nebula standards. So Nebula at a minimum gets you 165 Hertz, 3 milliseconds gray to gray, 500 nits peak brightness, and full DCI P3 coverage. That is excellent in what we have on here, but if you want to go even a step further, they have their mini LED displays with Nebula HDR. So that gets you 1100 nits peak brightness, 240 Hertz, and this thing is just so good to look at. There's 1024 dimming zones in this, making it one of the best displays I have seen here. The contrast ratio that they claim is, what is this, 100,000 to 1? It's not quite OLED, but it's very close and so much brighter. It is very impressive. Below the panel, things keep on being good. This is so cool. They have this plastic that it's made out of, but it's translucent up in here. Apparently that was a huge pain for the designers of the laptop, but they did figure it out in the end, and I think it looks fantastic. Especially like back here, look at that. I really appreciate that people are having fun with plastics again. As well, even though it is plastic, it is stiff. Like, I'm gonna absolutely give her here. That's about as much as you can get. And if we look here, like I'm gonna press on it, that's almost nothing. And of course, with a stiff chassis, that gives you a much better chance of having a good keyboard, and I'm happy to report, yeah, Asus's gaming laptops have had fantastic keyboards for years, and this one's no exception. Here you also have a trackpad, and if you press right here, you get a numpad. Look at that. As a bonus, just a little treat, it's the sort of thing you don't know if you're gonna get with Asus. They have webcam on top. Who would have thought it? And also, the I/O is pretty solid. So we have headphone microphone combo jack right there. Love to see it. Can't take it for granted these days, even from Asus. We also have USB Type-C that is wired directly to the GPU for all of your external monitor needs, and Thunderbolt 4, HDMI 2.1, 2.5 gigabit LAN, and over on this side, we have USB Type-A. If 16 inches isn't big enough for you though, we have the Strix SCAR 18. This thing has a massive 18.3 inch display, and even though it's only Nebula, not the Nebula HDR, I don't think you're gonna complain. Quad HD, 240 Hertz, DCI-P3, 500 nits. Oh, I didn't even mention that it's 16 by 10. I absolutely love that gaming laptops have 16 by 10 now. It's gone past productivity into stuff like this. Makes it just like, if you want a video edit on something like this, which given, you know, the color accuracy you can, just makes it easier. So many more timeline bits. The specs remain the same from the 16 inch because, well, you can't make it any faster. NVIDIA actually just doesn't let you increase the TDP even if you can. Kinda sucks. Anyway, it doesn't matter because you still get an RTX 4090 and i9, 175 watts on both of them. Absolute beast. This one's probably a little bit quieter, you guys know? Probably. It has a bigger fan. We already know this. But if you want to be just a tiny bit cheaper, we have the Strix G18. So this thing's not quite as powerful. You only get a 4080. Oh, poor you. You only get a 4080. Jeez. That's what, like a 3080, 3090 in a laptop? No one knows. Okay. The cooling system remains the same on this guy. Although if you go for lower than the RTX 4080, you are not going to be getting that Conducto Not Extreme. Not that you're really going to need it. Moving around from those big powerful boys to the more smaller ones. First of all, you guys have too many awards, jeez. You need to move them so we can see the laptops. The new Flow X13 is an absolute monster. Not just like, you know, power-wise, you kind of expect that. But it has a 75 watt-hour battery in this thing. I know, it's friggin' amazing. It's so small, I love it. For real, I don't know how they crammed so much stuff into this. So you can get up to an RTX 4070 in this. And it's not even that garbage 35 watt version. It goes up to 60 watts in this. On top of that, they have an AMD processor that gets you up to 55 watts. 55 watts, excellent, yes. This is better than most thin-in lights, and you can legitimately game on it. How the heck did they do this? Of course, the build quality remains excellent, and the trackpad's 57% larger. So you can it's actually a trackpad now. It's not like a quarter of one. Not only is the trackpad bigger, but they also managed to somehow make it 10 millimeters smaller. I really like this thing. I really want to get it into our office and see just how long it'll last with that 75 watt-hour battery. Although then again, 4070, maybe it's not too good, maybe it isn't. But either way, they're finally putting proper webcams on everything. Windows Hello facial recognition up there. Unlock the laptop super easily, absolutely love it. Also, full HD webcam. Just thank you for putting them on your laptops, guys. It's the absolute bare minimum, but you're doing it now. For the Flow Z13, they haven't changed a whole lot, not that they really needed to. We just get a very simple TDP bump to 65 watts on the GPU, which, given that Microsoft still can't manage to cool the Surface Pro, is very, very impressive. Also, this little glass panel on the back that's all covered in fingerprints right now, it used to be kind of like out a little bit, but now they've managed to get it in just flush with this, so it doesn't, I don't know, it just looks better. Of course, you also get a Nebula display on here, so 16 by 10, Quad HD, 165 Hertz, fantastic. But do you know what's really crazy? You know the G14, that like sort of small, sort of not too small gaming laptop that they've had for a while? Well, it's a 4090 in it now.
No.
How? Yes, it has a 40. It's not the full fat 4090 like they had in the Strix, but it still has 125 watts in a laptop that's this big. Does this one have the cooler that goes all the way across the back? No. Well, it still is very impressive. You should have done that though. I thought that was a thing. That's what I said at the start. They put it on everything. Yeah, okay. Apparently it has a vapor chamber. That's why they said you don't need it. But you need it on the Flow, the big one. Anyway.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, it has an animatrix on the back. The G14 also gets a display upgrade. So this right here is a Quad HD mini LED display, and it has 504 zones. It looks really good. Look at that. What I also want to look at is the new Zephyrus M16. It's the same basic thing, but just a little bit bigger. Does this one have a heatsink that goes all the way across the back? It does! Heck yeah, there we go. That's the theme of the video right there. All the way across the back. Has an RTX 4090 in it once again, but this one comes with a TDP of 140 watts in something that's this thin. Look at that, it even goes all the way flat. We also have some excellent I/O here, so micro SD card, USB Type-C, Type-A, it's a Thunderbolt 4, HDMI, and USB Type-A, rounded out with a headphone microphone combo jack. It has the same mini LED display as the SCAR, and also it has a webcam with Windows Hello facial recognition. Again, love to see it just on all of these laptops. Good job, guys. And finally, for the 16, they brought the animatrix to it. Great, big, so many LEDs. I enjoy putting like Linus faces on here. Rabbit's fun too. Finally, we have their new TUF Gaming laptops. This one right here comes with a new sand color. It actually does look pretty cool. Now, even though this is one of their more budget laptops, I'm sure you can still get it obscenely expensive. You can have options like Quad HD 240 Hertz display, 16 by 10 in a budget gaming laptop. Absolutely love to see it. But again, if you're topping this thing out, I don't know how much it's gonna cost, but they also don't yet either. So we'll comment on budget laptops later. And finally, as just a little cherry on top, they have a gaming Chromebook. There's absolutely no reason that you should ever get a gaming Chromebook, but I can think of one, and that's because these keys are orange, and I do appreciate that. What I also appreciate is Asus sponsoring this video. Huge thanks, guys. So hit like, get subscribed, and just have a fantastical day. See you later.